I said, "This party ain't for you, boy. Step back before I call someone who actually matters." Malik froze. He was 17, dressed in a rented tux, standing in front of a celebrity mansion party he'd dreamed of attending his whole life. Cameras flashed behind him. He wasn't blocking anyone, just waiting quietly like everyone else. But suddenly, all eyes were on him. "I have an invite," he said, voice even, holding up his phone. Digital RSVP sent directly from the white security guard scoffed. "Yeah, and I got a unicorn in my pocket, back of the line. A." Few people chuckled. Not kindly. Malik didn't move. "I'm on the list. You really think you're getting in here?" The guard stepped forward. "Look around. Does this look like your scene?" The velvet rope inched closer to his chest. On the other side, laughter rang out. He could feel the heat in his face, the weight of judgment in every stare. "You're making people uncomfortable, man. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Malik held up his phone again, steadier this time. "Check the name, Malik. Turner, I designed." The guard snatched the phone from his hand, glanced at the screen, and let out a mocking laugh. "Photoshopped. Cute." "I didn't." The second bouncer strolled over. "Yo, catering's in the back. Go drop off the food, or whatever." "I'm not staff," Malik said, heart pounding. "I'm a guest." The rope between them wasn't velvet, anymore it was brick. He tried to keep his shoulders straight, chin high, but every second stretched into a louder silence. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't resisting. He was just existing. And that was the problem. They weren't seeing him, not as a student, not as an artist, not even as a person. They saw a young black teen trying to walk into a rich white world. That, apparently, was a problem too. Is he for real? Someone's voice behind him. Then another. He's just trying to sneak in for clout. Malik turned slightly. Phones were up now, recording not one to help, just to watch. A white influencer couple whispered, loud enough to be heard. He really thought Cardi B invited him. That's hilarious. She giggled. He posted humiliation in public, had a strange sound. It wasn't yelling, it was laughing. Malik felt his chest tighten, but he refused to bow his head. If he did, he might never raise it again. He wasn't just fighting for entrance anymore. He was fighting to exist in a place that kept telling him he didn't belong. And every whisper, every smirk, every sideways glance added weight to a verdict the crowd had already delivered. He doesn't belong here. Time's up. The guard grabbed Malik by the wrist, not gently. "Hey," Malik's voice cracked, not from fear, but from disbelief. He wasn't resisting. He wasn't even speaking loudly. But to the crowd, he was already a problem being handled. The bouncer yanked him back, away from the rope, away from the cameras. Someone shouted, "Damn," they kicked him out like he's trash. But no one moved. Malik stumbled onto the sidewalk, tux wrinkled, shoes scuffed, dignity shattered. Phones were still rolling. He'd been erased from the party before he'd even stepped inside. As the bouncers walked back to their posts, Malik stood still, not crying, not yelling, just quiet. Because this wasn't the first time, not the first time someone assumed he didn't belong. Not the first time he was looked through instead of at. From school hallways to mall entrances, it always echoed the same way. Too black, too poor, too visible when they wanted him invisible. And here, in front of the flashing lights and marble steps, that echo came back louder than ever. "You didn't sleep again, did you?" his mum asked, wrapping her work apron tighter. Malik shrugged, eyes still tracing lines in his sketchbook. I had an idea I didn't want to lose. Stacks of fabric samples sat beside old textbooks. Their South Central apartment wasn't much, but it held dreams stitched into every corner. His mother worked double shifts at the hospital. Still, she never missed complimenting his sketches even when her feet ached. Your hands, she'd say, they're gonna open doors mine couldn't. He believed her, even when the world didn't. That notebook, it wasn't just paper. It was proof he mattered. At school, the world flipped. Why do you talk like that? Classmates teased me. Do you think you were better than us? But teachers weren't any kinder. They'd flinch when he walked too fast, ask for ID like he didn't belong, accuse him of cheating when he aced a test, being a straighter black. Teen wasn't safe. It was suspicious. Too articulate for some, too confident for others. Malik learned early, if you're not playing the stereotype, people get uncomfortable, and discomfort gets dangerous. Prom season came and went. Girls wore gowns. Malik designed dresses made in cramped corners between homework and house chores, but he never got an invite. They loved what he made, just not enough to make room for him. It wasn't cruelty, it was invisibility, quiet exclusion masked as forgetfulness. He was useful, but never central, always on the outside, looking in. Then, one afternoon, his phone lit up, subject, congratulations. Malik Turner, you've been selected. He'd won the scholarship. Cardi B's scholarship. The one for emerging artists from underrepresented communities. Attached was an invite, her private industry party, a celebration of young black creatives. It wasn't fame that lit his chest. It was recognition. Someone had seen him, and finally he'd be seen in return. He pooled savings, skipped meals, and sold old gear. 1 tuxedo, 1 ticket. 2 bus transfers, destination. Beverly Hills. Malik wasn't chasing clout. He wasn't trying to go viral. He just wanted to stand in a room where he wasn't invisible. As the city passed by his window, he whispered to himself, "Tonight, I belong." "Excuse me, are you in the right place?" The voice wasn't hostile, just cold, dismissive. Malik nodded, clutching his phone tighter. "Yeah, I'm invited." He tried to steady his voice, but his eyes flicked to the gold heels, velvet suits, flashing cameras. No one looked like him. No one stood alone. The tux he'd rented felt thinner under the weight of all that fabric and fame. People laughed effortlessly. Around him, toasting champagne. Meanwhile, he scanned for a familiar face. None appeared. Even before they spoke, he could feel it. He didn't belong, at least not to them. Then a tall white teen strutted up. Sunglasses on, hoodie unzipped, no ID. "No questions," the guard grinned. "Welcome back, Mr. Sterling." They fist-bumped like boys at a high school reunion. The ropes opened instantly. Malik blinked, processing it. He glanced down at his own invitation. Triple-checked the name, the code, the time. Same party. Same rules, but a different entry. One had last names that opened doors, the other had skin that shut them, and the rope stayed closed. Malik stepped forward. "Hiya, here's my invite," he said, raising his phone screen. The guard didn't even look at it, just smirked. "Where'd you steal this from?" Malik's smile cracked. "Sorry, I mean you got this from someone, right?" He chuckled. "We get a lot of Photoshop warriors out here." The second guard leaned in. "Or maybe you won a contest on TikTok." Malik shook his head. I'm part of Cardi's scholarship program. I was told to come here. The first guard narrowed his eyes. A scholarship, you, they laughed. Not loud just enough. It wasn't violence, but it tore deeper. Because their disbelief wasn't about the invite. It was about him. Before Malik could respond, the second guard cut him off. Catering's around back. You deliverin' for DoorDash? Or what? Malik stared. I'm not staff. I'm a guest. They looked him over, slowly, from shoes to skin. Right, one of them mumbled. And just like that, he wasn't a scholarship winner, a guest, or even a designer. He was reduced to someone who could only be here if he was serving, not celebrating, never celebrating. People started noticing, not to help, just to spectate. He probably lost a bet or something, someone whispered. A girl in diamonds giggled. Think he's filming a prank, or maybe he just wants clout. They do that. They didn't say black, but they didn't need to. Every glance said it. Every smirk was coded. He wasn't an invited guest. He was a spectacle, a joke walking in polished shoes, a reminder that racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just whispers. Malik stood there silent. The invite is still open on his screen. No one vouched for him. No one questioned the guards. They just walked round him like he wasn't there. He could have left, but something told him to stay. Not out of pride, but out of pain, and maybe a little defiance. You're making people uncomfortable, man. You don't belong here. The security guard's voice wasn't just loud, it was final, like a gavel slamming down. The murmurs from the velvet rope quieted into uneasy silence. Malik blinked, unsure if he'd misheard. I was invited, he said quietly. I showed you the back away from the line. The guard snapped, chest puffed. This ain't for you. The words weren't about the party anymore. They echoed deeper, wider. They were about who gets to take up space in a world built to keep certain people out. And everyone around them just watched, like it wasn't even happening. I earned my invite, Malik said, louder now, but his voice cracked at the edges. He wasn't begging. He was standing his ground. My name's on the list. Cardi B scholarship winner. Look it up. He held up his phone again. No one took it. The guards didn't budge. The guests turned away. A girl adjusted her lip gloss in the reflection of her screen while recording him. No one cared to help. No one wanted to risk their place to defend him, so he stood alone, firm in voice, fragile in spirit, every second stretching longer than the last. Without warning, the guard grabbed his wrist and yanked him sideways. All right, that's it. You're out. Malik stumbled, nearly dropping his phone. Hey, don't touch me like that. But it was too late. Cameras flashed. Videos started rolling. Some laughed. Some just kept filming. A few looked away, pretending they hadn't seen anything. Bro, chill, it's not that serious. Someone called, like it was a skit. Malik tried to shake free, but the grip tightened. His feet scraped against the pavement as he was shoved off the carpet. Off the concrete, straight into the gutter of humiliation. He didn't scream. He didn't fight. He just went still, because he knew how these stories usually ended on who they usually believed. Every lens pointed at him, but not one saw him. Not really. Damn, someone muttered nearby. They're kicking him out like he's trash. The words hit harder than the shove. Malik stood on the sidewalk, now his tux dusty, his spirit splintering. Then came the post. An influencer across the street zoomed in, giggling to her boyfriend. This kid really tried to crash Cardi's party within minutes. Her caption would rack up shares and reactions. They didn't see him as real, just content. Black pain as entertainment, and even in his stillness, Malik could feel it. The betrayal wasn't just from the guards, it was from everyone who laughed, liked, and looked away. He didn't move, didn't cry, didn't curse, just stood there. The glow of the mansion lights blurred with the street lamps, and the noise of the party faded into a dull roar behind him. He'd spent weeks designing a dream for someone else. Tonight was supposed to be his, but all he could hear was the echo of that line, "You don't belong here." And then cutting through the haze a voice, fierce, familiar, "Why the hell is my date outside?" The crowd froze. People parted like water as Cardi B stormed out, fury radiating with every step. Her dress shimmered Malik's dress. She didn't stop at the ropes. She didn't wait for permission. She pushed through, eyes locked on him. "Who put my guest on the damn sidewalk?" She barked. The guards stammered. Cardi ignored them, walked straight to Malik and hugged him. Tight, unapologetic, protective. "This man right here designed the dress I'm wearing. He's the reason I look this good." Flashbulbs exploded. Phones now pointed, not in mockery, but in awe. The balance had shifted, and everyone felt it. Cardi turned to the guard who'd dragged him. "You just lost your job," she said, voice flat. "Don't ever judge someone's worth by what they look like." He tried to explain, but she cut him off with a single glare. The silence was louder than the music inside. In that moment, it wasn't about celebrity, it was about justice, and accountability didn't come through a press release. It came raw, real, right. There on the steps of exclusion, Malik didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The same people who had scrolled past him, whispered about him, filmed him like a joke now, watched him differently. The influencer deleted her post. A blogger tweeted, "That was the kid. He's the designer." Malik stood tall, not out of pride but out of presence. He wasn't begging to be seen anymore. He simply was, and for the first time, it felt like the world finally saw him, too. Not for his clothes, not for the scandal, but for the story they tried to silence, and the truth that refused to stay quiet. Cardi didn't let go of Malik's hand in front of flashing lights and wide-eyed cameras. She raised her voice, clear, proud, unapologetic. "This is my guest. My date. He designed the damn dress I'm wearing." Gasps rippled through the crowd like aftershocks. The same photographers who ignored him moments ago now couldn't click fast enough. Cardi turned toward them. "Yeah, y'all heard me. Y'all clowned him out here like he was nothing. But this boy's got more talent than half of y'all in there." Malik's ears rang not from the noise, but from the shift, because for the first time that night, someone with power saw him, not just as a black kid in a tux, but as an artist. And she didn't whisper it behind closed doors. She shouted it where the world had no choice but to listen. The same red carpet that pushed him off minutes earlier now glowed beneath his feet. Cameras snapped, this time capturing him with Cardi, her arm around his shoulder, both of them smiling. Only now, it wasn't staged, it was real. He wasn't some kid in the background anymore. He was the headline. People leaned in. Someone asked his name. Another jotted it down. The moment wasn't about redemption, it was about reclamation. For once, the lights weren't exposing him, they were celebrating him. And for Malik, every flash was a breath of air in a world that had been choking him. For too long inside, the energy shifted. Yo, you, the kid Cardi was defending. A rapper asked, handing Malik a drink. I saw the clip on Twitter already. That was wild. Another guest tapped him on the shoulder. You really designed her dress. You got an IG. Malik blinked, stunned. Moments ago, he was invisible. Now, hands were reaching out not to push him away, but to pull him in. Fashion execs, stylists, influencers all circling him like gravity flipped in his favor. It wasn't about clout. Not for him, it was the recognition he'd never dared to expect, based not on who he knew, but what he'd created. And the irony was sharp. The very crowd that had judged his presence now hung on his every word. By the time Malik checked his phone, everything had changed. The influencer who mocked him, post deleted. No apologies, just vanished. In its place, headlines. Young black designer goes viral after Cardi B defends him from racist security. From disrespected to discovered. The power of celebrity allyship. Clips of the confrontation flooded. TikTok, Twitter threads broke down the moment frame by frame. Hashtag #MalikWisen trended globally. He watched it unfold in real time, how public shame turned into viral redemption. But beneath the noise, he understood something deeper. The world didn't change overnight. It just finally looked in the right direction. Across the room, Malik spotted him, the same security guard who dragged him out. Only now, he wasn't yelling. He was being escorted out, headset stripped from his shoulder, face pale under the weight of consequences. No apology, no eye contact. Just gone. Malik didn't gloat. He didn't need to, for once. Someone who abused power paid a price in real time. And while it didn't erase what happened, it marked something rare. A moment where accountability wasn't just spoken, it was shown. Malik stepped away for a breath, pulling out his phone. He snapped a quick selfie with Cardi, her arm still slung around him. She grinned like a proud big sister. He sent the pic to his mum with a simple text, made it in. Seconds later, her reply buzzed through. Told you, baby, you were never out of place. They were just too blind to see it. Malik exhaled. All the noise around him, the flashing lights, the buzzing headlines, the newfound fans, none of it mattered more than those words. Because they weren't about fame. They were about finally feeling seen by the world. And by himself. Yo, is this? The kid Cardi stood up for. The clip exploded overnight. Malik's face, bruised by humiliation but held steady in pride, was everywhere. Twitter threads broke it down. TikToks reenacted the scene. Hashtags flooded every corner of the internet. #respect black designers, #this party, AINT for you. #MalikWisen bited no longer just a name. Malik became a mirror reflecting a larger truth. The silence he'd endured, replaced by a roar. People weren't just angry, they were inspired. Because Malik's moment wasn't a one-off. Injustice, it was proof. Racism in elite spaces doesn't hide behind closed doors anymore. It gets caught. It gets called out. What was said to shame him now became power. This party ain't for you. Those 6 words, the guard's insults turned into protest art, hoodie designs, spoken word. The phrase hit harder than expected. Because it wasn't just Malik's story, it was everyone's. Anyone who'd ever been told they didn't belong suddenly had a banner to stand beneath. The words were everywhere, and the world listened not because they had to, but because the silence had finally been shattered by something too real to scroll past. The guard fired, no PR statement, no spin, just gone. The influencer who laughed posted a video with glassy eyes and a shaky voice. Apology or damage control. It didn't matter. The internet saw it for what it was. Even the studio exec's son, who smirked in the background, found himself trending for all the wrong reasons. People weren't looking away this time. Accountability didn't wait for justice, it came dragging receipts. Malik didn't chase fame, but when it knocked, he opened the door with purpose. Panels, school visits, guest lectures. Not just about fashion, but about finding your voice when the world tries to mute it. You belong, he told kids who looked like him, and your story matters even when they pretend it doesn't. He didn't just speak about racism in fashion. He challenged it on stages, in studios, in boardrooms. He wasn't just rising, he was lifting others with him. Months later, Malik walked the runway at his show. The crowd roared, not for hype, but for hope. He wore a sleek black hoodie, simple, bold, and loud in the quietest way. Across the chest, it read, "I belong here, and so do you." No mic, no speech, just presence. Every stitch of that hoodie carried history. Every step on that runway echoed what that night tried to erase, and this time he owned the room.